I'm Meredith Lyons. I've been involved with Maharishi Vastu since 2002. I've built 3 different Maharishi Vastu homes, and I currently run the Maharishi Vastu office in Australia, so I'm the main point of contact. And thank you all for joining. It's great to see you smiling, happy meditators in Geelong and dear Peniota as well. So I was just thinking to start with a slideshow, just as an introduction, and then we can have questions and answers if you like. So Maharishi Veda is Vedic architecture in harmony with natural law. Maharishi Veda architecture is the most ancient and supreme system of architecture and planning according to the solar, lunar and planetary influences on the Earth, and with reference to the North and South Poles and the equator. It connects individual life with cosmic life, individual intelligence with cosmic intelligence, so that everyone, wherever they may be, will always feel, I am living in heaven. Maharishi Veda is the science and art of establishing structures where the part is in tune with the whole. The individual structure is in tune with its cosmic potential. This is the ideal of architecture, designing fortune-creating homes, cities and nations from the level of cosmic architecture, the eternal design of the universe, in accordance with the structuring dynamics of the field of total knowledge, the field of the science of total natural law, the unified field of all the laws of nature. Maharishi Veda utilizes the fact that the strongest influence of natural law comes from the sun. The sun on its path from east to west, from sunrise to sunset, generates different qualities of energy. So homes should be designed so that the different energies of the sun correspond to the specific function and activity of each room. Then natural law always supports every aspect of our daily activity. Unfortunately, people do not know that many misfortunes and even diseases come from wrongly built buildings in which they live and work. So Maharishi Vedic architecture is partly based on the fact that we know that when we face different directions, our body functions in different ways. So it's actually now been shown by science that our brain cells fire according to our orientation or which way we're facing. So when we face east, the brain physiology functions differently than when we face north, south, or west. So with Maharishi Vedic architecture, every humanly designed man-made structure should conform to the structure produced by natural law if that structure is to be in harmony with the structure of the universe, the expression of cosmic intelligence. So we're incorporating this Vedic understanding of the human, how the mind functions, the physiology, and all of the planets, all of the influences to then structure beautiful buildings to live in. We can also think about the effect of orientation on health. Patients living in homes with south entrances have significantly poorer health and more financial problems than patients with north or east entrances. So this is just an example of a lack of knowledge resulting in homes that are not good to live in. And also the effect of orientation on security. There are 75% more burglaries in south-facing houses than in houses facing east, west, or north. So this just shows that the recommendation of Maharishi Vedic architecture to avoid all inauspicious southern entrances and to orientate buildings to face east or north is the best. Certainly, they're beautiful to live in. So Maharishi Vedic architecture is architecture in harmony with natural law. It applies timeless principles of Vastu, which is a great balancing power in nature. And this is the beautiful Raj Vedic Health Center in the US. So the main principles of Maharishi Vedic architecture are proper orientation, auspicious direction of the entrance, proper room placement within a building, harmonious proportions and dimensions of every aspect of a building, auspicious environment and surroundings, and natural, healthy, environmentally friendly materials. This picture, this beautiful picture, is of Maharishi's Peace Palace in Vlodrop in the Netherlands. So one aspect that's really important in Maharishi's Departure Veda is the orientation of buildings. And there's various auspicious or inauspicious influences depending on which way a building faces. So a building with an entrance facing east brings an influence of enlightenment, affluence, and fulfillment to those that live and work in that building. We can see that other directions such as southeast, south, southwest, west, northwest, and northeast bring inauspicious influences. And I'll give you a moment to read those if you like. And also an entrance facing north is auspicious as well. It brings an influence of prosperity and happiness. And there's some scientific research, which maybe we don't need to go into. So basically, Maharishi's Departure Veda is incorporating all this knowledge and intelligence within the design of a home. So a home should also, of course, incorporate what you want. So it's a blend. It's a blend of what you want, where you want to live, your budget, what you want. Do you want a home office in there, or you need how many bedrooms, etc.? And then that's combined at each step. We give you the highest knowledge of what's the most auspicious way to achieve an ideal home to live in. So does anyone have any questions?
Meredith, do you do the design for homes for people, or?
So it's not as if the Vastu consultant actually does the design. So you can have a building designer or a draftsperson or an architect work with you. So it really depends up to the client. Some clients have a really clear idea of what they want, or have a good idea of how to design the house, how they want the house to look. So they may choose to just work, say, with the draftsperson. And then the client will largely be making all the design decisions with the Vastu input. Some people are looking for more, they want some artistic input. They might use an architect to give the place some flourish or, you know, some design polish. So all of that's possible. It's just really up to the client what they're after.
So you give guidance on that, and then the client goes to the architect.
So it's really a collaborative process where largely you work with the Vastu consultant to start with. And once your plans are fairly developed, then it's only then that you actually need to get them drawn in an official, fully documented way. So it just depends a little bit on the client. Some clients are quite good at drawing and they can even draw their own initial plans, and that's really good because then you're creating your own home. That's great. The house should be a reflection of you. You can think of the house as a second physiology. It really should be reflective of you. But with the Vastu knowledge as well, we're just allowing it to be as auspicious as possible. So some clients are really, you know, they really essentially design their house themselves with the Vastu input, Vastu knowledge as well. And some other clients, they're more perhaps relying on a draftsperson or an architect to really bring the plans together and get the whole thing documented and drawn. So just whatever suits.
What happens if a house has like entrances on every angle? Northeast, southwest.
An existing dwelling?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be good. We can go back to that.
Yeah.
Shot of the
home growing up, I think north, east, south probably had, I think, yeah, had entrances on all of those. Yeah.
So yes, that's not good. We know that east is the best and north is also good too.
Yeah.
So entrances in other directions will bring not so good influences to the people that live there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is the entrances, is the east is the best and north? What about the bedrooms? When they design the bedroom, do they have certain ways to design where to go head and where to go legs? You know how the room are designed to have PowerPoint and things like that for the head.
So there's a number of points in there. It's a great question. Thanks, Sita. So when we're designing Maharishi Vastu home, there's specific advice to minimize the effect of electrical currents and electromagnetic radiation and so on the people there. And obviously having PowerPoints and things away from the bed is good. And also there's recommendations on where best to have the bedrooms, how best to orientate the beds within the bedrooms, and then it depends who's going to be living in the house. There may be more advice on where to put the different bedrooms according to who's living there, etc. So all this thing, you can see it's very much done in cooperation with the client of who's going to be living in the house, what activities are going to be done there, etc. So this is usually done more in the early planning stage. And then once the client's satisfied, they've got the rooms they want and the general sizes and so on and locations, then we apply the Vedic measurements to that plan to harmonise all the rooms together within the main building.
I heard someone mention that east facing with water, I think it was Rod, east facing entrance onto water is more auspicious or something?
So there's recommendations on where it's best to have bodies of water in relation to a building.
Okay.
And generally water to the east is very auspicious.
Yeah, the entrance and then the water right in front of the entrance.
A pond or something. Could it be like does it matter what type of body of water?
So it depends. So it can be not really nice to have a fountain or a pond or something actually close to the house. That's a nice thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, so you can design it if there's no natural.
And with growing food as well as an extension of the house, is there a location that's best for that?
Great. So ideally in Vastu, the house is facing east and maybe there's also a secondary entrance on the north. It's good to have your main activities or the main things that you want to look at, your enjoyable view, to the east and to the north. So it would actually be good to have, if you're growing vegetables and things, it would be nice to have those somewhere where you can see them from the house. So your attention's there, they're being nourished by your attention. And there is also an area of Vastu that some people delve into, which is the Vedic garden design as well. And if you want to, within the Vastu fence, that area closest to the house, you can even decide what plants to plant where according to that advice as well. So that's sort of more a finishing touch, but part of that is where best to place edible plants, where best to place ornamentals and different types of plants. There's some positions that are best for them within the Vastu as well. So, and there's excellent advice on Vedic agriculture, how best, if you're wanting to grow food, on how best to grow food so that it will be really nourishing and beautiful and pure. So Maharishi Vedic organic agriculture is a wonderful, wonderful thing to look into if you're wanting to grow your own food.
Yeah.
So things to do.
Anything else, or I can show you some more. I can show you some Australian houses, or oh look, we've spent a bit of time anyway, so I'm not sure how your schedule's going, but you want?
Good.
Yeah, I'd like to see some Australian houses.
Sure. Okay, so maybe I can do a share screen again, and the easiest place to see Australian houses is to just go to the Australian Maharishi Vastu website, which is just at maharishivastu.org.au. And there's a little folio where there's just pictures of different houses that have been built. And you can sort of browse through those. For example, this house is near Torquay, actually. And then there's also articles where there's bigger pictures and more detail. So, for example, this one's near Melbourne.
Oh, it's in Melbourne.
And you can see some nice pictures. So there's quite a lot of houses. There's more than 50 Vastu buildings in Australia. So there's all different styles, sizes, locations, climates, etc.
So open plan living is quite common in Australia. Is that beneficial space, how that's laid out?
Open plan living is fine. So actually that other house we just saw, I'll just go through, find you an article that's on with a fairly open plan house. Open plan is totally fine. Just trying to think which one. This is a nice one, this home won an architecture award. It's quite modern. So you see you can have any style. They had custom made, where is it here? Around the doorway. This is all, I think it was etched glass that was custom made with a motif from a temple and really beautiful. Got this lovely rooftop deck and quite modern. So you can have any style of home, this big open plan, kitchen dining. There's another one I'm thinking of. So you're welcome to just look through the website. Anyway, there's plenty of pictures. This one's a nice one. So this is the outside is perhaps Edwardian or a little traditional, and inside is just quite modern, quite open plan in some areas.
And like having multiple stories is obviously fine.
Yes, sure. Sure, yes.
Does it matter where the stairs are?
There's all sorts of advice about stairs. Yes, there are best places to have stairs. So this is maharishi.vastu.org.au. So there's quite a lot of articles and pictures in there if you want to look through in your own time.
Thank you.
So is that website the best place to get information on Vastu?
So yes, it's a really good place to start. There's also information, I'll just go back to it. There's also information on how to build a Maharishi Vastu home. So if you're thinking in that direction, this is really good to read through. It's a little bit detailed, but building a house is a large and detailed project. So this really goes through the process, all the steps that generally are followed with building a Vastu home. So that's really good to look at. And there's a frequently asked questions section. So there's really a lot of information in the website. So it's really good to start there. And there's a whole lot of information here on the principles, natural materials, etc. And some great quotes from Maharishi on Vastu too.
Are there any Maharishi Vastu buildings that have been built in like a natural building kind of way, like with
Natural materials?
straw bales and those kind of
Sure. So there's a rammed earth home in Perth that's on the website. You'll find that if you have a look. There's a home that was built out of European logs about an hour north of here along the coast. It's in the website too. So it was actually, I think it was Estonia, all the logs, because they traditionally grow the right type of wood there in the forest. The whole house is built of logs there, and then they took it apart and packed it in shipping containers and shipped it to Australia, and 3 of the builders came and then they put it together in Australia. So there's all sorts of beautiful natural materials that people have used, and some people just use brick veneer, you know, so it just depends on your budget and it depends on what style you want, but certainly natural is good. So real wooden floorboards, woolen carpets, or we want to avoid sort of off-gassing glues and those things. So just natural materials as you can afford it is wonderful. Great. Rammed earth, or there's a nice material called timbercrete, which look like bricks. They look like big sandstone blocks, but they're actually made from just sand and sawdust and a little bit of concrete, and they breathe. So there's lots of really nice products, and we can help you with suggestions as well. But yeah, clients come up with great, all sorts of beautiful natural materials have been used. Anything else, or shall we let? Thank you for your questions. They've been good questions, and thanks very much for joining. And at any time, you can just contact me via the website if you like. It's probably the easiest. So just maharishivastu.org.au. And happy to talk to anyone at any time if they're interested in proceeding with Maharishi Vastu. It's they're wonderful homes to live in. They just feel, you know, Stapan means to establish. So they're just very stabilizing, grounding sorts of homes to live in. So it's not just how we feel mentally. We do feel grounded and settled in a Maharishi Vastu home, but also we feel that establishment of our consciousness as well. We feel that connection with the cosmic level of life. So they're just an absolute joy to live in. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining all of us here, and also everyone who's listening to the recording as well, who really enjoy everything you said. It really touched on some great points and very practical points.
Thanks, Jay Gurdev.